Well, welcome back to Tousi TV, ladies and gentlemen. I'm joined by another patriotic human in Britannia, Simon Danzig, who is now the Reform UK candidate in Rochdale, standing up against the mainstream parties, the Tories and the Labour and all the other nutters. Obviously, Simon used to be an MP, a Labour MP actually, and he won in 2010, despite the fact that, for those of you who remember 2010, Gordon Brown didn't make it easy for Simon because he went to Rochdale and the whole incident with Gillian Duffy happened when he called her a bigoted woman. Yet still, somehow, Simon managed to beat the Lib Dems, I believe, by it was like 800 votes that you won. Welcome to the show, Simon. How are you?
Great, I'm good, and it's nice to be on the show.
Yes, obviously, you used to be an MP for Rochdale, so you're not really an alien to that area. And but obviously, your journey with the Labour Party, and you were a massive critic, outspoken. They call you the most outspoken internal critic of Jeremy Corbyn. So you're not a communist. That's good. So what happened? Why reform now?
Yeah, well, I would describe myself as having been traditional Labour. And so the Labour Party that I joined was
Mm.
all about the world of work, supporting people into employment, getting people off benefits and into work. The traditional Labour Party I joined was about stopping illegal immigration, being strong on law and order, supporting the royal family. And yet the Labour Party that we have now is what I describe as the North London Labour elite: David Lammy, Keir Starmer, Ed Miliband, Jeremy Corbyn for that matter. And so it's moved away from me. And what I find in Reform is that they mirror a lot of the beliefs that I have, whether it's tackling illegal immigration. I think they have some good, strong policies on that, turning round the boats, coming out of the European Convention on Human Rights. Their policy in terms of taking people out of income tax if you earn £20,000 or less makes sense in terms of stimulating employment, getting people into work. So I like that idea. And also the idea of nationalising the energy companies, which is progressive, really, and you could describe as almost socialist. So I don't buy into this idea that politics is left or right. I think it's much more sophisticated than that now. But reform encapsulates, the vast majority of what I believe in. So it's a perfect fit for me.
It is interesting because even smaller parties or alternative parties like Reform, even they, because of the way you describe the political spectrum, even they are big tents essentially. So there will be some policy ideas where, for example, you would have a debate with in a very civilized way with I don't know, Ben Habib, for example. But I think it's all about the overall values, and I think that's what it used to be: the Labour Party, traditional Labour Party, or the traditional Tory Party and the Liberal Party. It was mostly about everybody in the party at least believed in a set of values, the actual core message. And obviously, yeah, you could have a debate about the tax rate or nationalizing water or not. I think that's gone away. I think this is where the main parties have gone away from just being a big tent with the same values. We actually have inside the Labour Party and inside the Tory Party people with different values, not just ideas. I think it's just where it's also like difficult. Obviously, you have your own circumstances with Labour and all that nonsense, but if in a normal situation, you wouldn't be able to see yourself with one of those two parties, right? Because the difference between you and, I don't know, the Corbyn side and the Starmer side are so different. More different than you and Ben Habib, right?
Yeah, yeah, and what you're seeing with the main parties now, particularly with Starmer and Sunak, is really no values at all, no principles, no values, no ideology, no vision for the country. So you're getting this sort of managerial politics at the centre of our democracy, which is really disillusioning people. I find that when I'm knocking on doors. So people are disillusioned because you've got this managerial style politics that can't even manage. So, it's not managing to run the country effectively. And I suspect there won't be much change from Sunak to Starmer come a general election. And that's really creating disillusionment. But the opportunity for reform is to really dramatically refresh politics in Britain. And people are buying into that. You take into account that all the main political parties, Labour, Conservative, Liberal, Democrat, have been around for literally hundreds of years we've been around 3 years and we're on 13% vote in the Wellingborough by-election. The Liberals, who've been around for hundreds of years, can't even hold on to the deposit. So I think we are on an upward trajectory, really making a difference, improving the brand in terms of people acknowledging it, becoming aware of it. There's a real opportunity to refresh politics in Britain dramatically.
It is also interesting because with people like yourself and a few others, the accusation that Reform was getting until now, that it's just Tory light, that kind of goes out. Because actually there will be policy ideas coming from yourself and many others that is more, I mean, I'm just saying legitimate way. They're more protectionist, or they're more obviously for English workers, British workers, rather than just kind of internationalist, where it goes exactly against the Tory messaging. So it's not really Tory light anymore. What's going on in Rochdale? It's absolute chaos right now. Because obviously you used to be an MP, you know the area. Has it actually changed that much? Because the arguments that we're seeing on the streets from the far left, the Islamist side, and even the Labour Party candidates are seen as like right wing because they're not saying Israel should surrender. What is going on in Rochdale? What's going on with George Galloway?
Yeah, well, that's interesting. The Galloway circus has arrived in town, and the reality is he's trying to appeal to a small vocal minority in the town, predominantly Muslim voters. There's no doubt about that. Really talking about Gaza, putting Gaza first and putting Rochdale second. That doesn't go down very well at all with the silent majority in this town. So I think Galloway's been rejected by the majority of people, and that's what we will see on election day. I do believe that. People aren't enamoured to Galloway at all, not the vast majority of people. And you're right, in terms of Labour, they chose a candidate who is anti-Semitic. And there's this debate, you touched upon it, this debate about, people say reforms on the right of British politics. Well, all the anti-Semites are in the Labour Party. There's only two political parties ever been investigated for racism in Britain. That's the British National Party and the Labour Party. So I think we have a strong record. We have some great policies. And I think we're really connecting with people, getting our message across. And politics have changed since I was last the MP here. People are far less and it doesn't just relate to Rochdale. I think people are far less tribal, and that's what we saw in 2019, people moving from Labour to vote for Boris. And people are much more fluid in how they decide they're going to vote. I think
not gender fluid, but they're not gender.
And I think we're going to see some of it in Rochdale.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we're kind of facing right now is most of the country is becoming tribal, but there's still certain areas where, that's why if you work hard, personal vote actually matters. Obviously, your face and your name is known. And I think one of the main things to focus on is the actual local people. And I think the Tory party and Labour Party, they still send the wrong message. When they go to constituency, by-election or whatever, they're campaigning on behalf of Rishi and Keir instead of the actual local candidate. You're not campaigning on behalf of Tice, are you? You're just a local candidate.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I'm campaigning on local issues. I'm putting Rochdale number one. Galloway's putting Gaza first. That's a definite distinction. I know what the issues are here on the ground, and I can rehearse them if you want me to. But they're very important to Rochdale people, and that's what I'm standing on. And that's how I won in 2010. That's how I beat the Liberal MP. He was campaigning on Clegg Mania and national issues. I was talking about the bread and butter issues facing Rochdale, and that's what I'm doing again in this by-election. I think it really does resonate because people in Rochdale want somebody who will talk up for the town, stand up for the town, and not just be an internationalist who's more interested in the Middle East than they are in representing Rochdale well.
Are there going to be anything, hypothetically, that will be a deal breaker if it's in a reform manifesto, or can you all work together? Because you are now a big tent. Could there be certain issues that potentially, not to create division, but we will have a discussion about this topic, or I don't know, for example, electoral system or whatever. Or do you think that we can still stay a solid team?
Oh, that's an interesting point. And you mentioned the electoral system. I've always supported first past the post.
Hmm.
But I have to say, I'm never set in my ways. I'm open to a discussion and a dialogue. And you do have to question whether the system that's delivered
Hmm.
the last couple of decades of
Hmm.
government in this country is
Yeah.
fit for purpose. I mean, we've seen real decline. Nothing works. Nothing runs efficiently or effectively. That must be related to the democratic system that we have. So perhaps some form of proportional representation is what's required, and so perhaps that
Hmm.
needs looking at. But there are many, very, very many different systems out there.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's certainly worthy of a discussion. But I have been a first past the post supporter until now.
I think, yeah, I mean, obviously, technically speaking, I was always also first past the post. I think the problem we're having is the political culture has changed. If everybody, that includes the electorate and the parties and the candidates, if they all practice first past the post the way it's supposed to be and traditionally, everything would work. But and that also includes the media, the way they cover things. It's not just the system has become presidential; it's just becoming tribal. It's just complete nonsense. Their local candidates don't matter anymore, even to the media. And that's why the last question is actually obviously you probably have some good relationship with the local press and certain people in terms of what's happening there with your by-election. But do you think you're getting the same fair coverage compared to Labour and Tories? Because I don't think I've been checking BBC and Sky. They don't really talk about you, and you were the former MP. What's going
Yeah,
on?
no, they are coming to me very late in this campaign. You're exactly right there. Rochdale Online, which is local media, have given me a fair shot. Manchester Evening News, interestingly, have just asked me two questions via an email,
Oh,
whereas they've done an extensive piece on Galloway, which I found bizarre. The national media are coming to me a
mm.
little bit more now. Because it's quite clear that it's a two-horse race between me and Galloway, and
Yeah.
they've come to realise that. And if I were a betting man, I would put Reform on winning this. But let's wait and see.
I'm gonna check the odds. I might put some money on it just in case. You never know. Thank you so much, Simon, for coming on the show. Obviously, Tousi TV will be hopefully in Rochdale on the election night to cover and report everything for you guys. Any last few words?
No, that's good. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. I've got a lot of work to do, so I'll be back out on the doorstep this evening for a couple of hours, and we'll see what happens on the 29th of February.
Brilliant. Best of luck. You're watching Tousi TV. I'm Maya Tousi, and we are the media.